So welcome everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk, and this is the Unbound Sage, where I deliver whatever message is most important for you to hear in your life right now. Messages I get may be coming from me psychically or empathically. They may be coming from your higher mind, but you're just not listening, or the universe, or an angel, a guide, an ancestor, a loved one in spirit, your pet, your dog. I don't know where it's going to come from. Okay. But whatever pops in as the most important thing, that's what I'm going to deliver to you. So you're going to drop a $10 donation. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, you can see where to drop that donation in the description above. If you're on Instagram or TikTok, Jill, my producer, is going to be posting it in the comments section. And that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. Hold on. Let me get this out of the way. Okay. First up, Yolanda Fisher. Yolanda, what do I have for you? I feel like you're finding your voice. There's talk of the last 2 weeks, but there's also talk of the last 48 hours. So I want to go on a double 2 with that. There may have been something that happened between the 3rd and the 4th month back as well that pushed you, that triggered you to speak your truth more, to find your voice and to make sure that your voice was going to be heard. You may have been feeling like you're getting crushed. And I keep seeing, I have a lady coming through, feels like, grandmother energy, maternal energy. She watches over you. She says, you've been feeling like, the world's throwing lemons at you. Esmeralda Marie Rivera, everybody, give her some love. So, if the world is throwing lemons at you, it's your job to sort of, as, you feel the pressure upon you, stick those lemons underneath there and make lemonade out of it. It's like you have been. And so what she's saying to you is that you've really had a very positive attitude. You've been holding yourself accountable. You've been taking responsibility, but you're also kind of feeling like, when's the end of this? How long is this process going to go on for? And again, I feel that peak between 3 and 4 months ago. But at the root of all of this is your ability to clear your throat chakra. So when we have a karmic lesson, a karmic task, to complete, it does typically run from lifetime to lifetime. Okay, you can very easily see that you've spent 3, 4, 5, even 6 lives on this task. And that doesn't make you slow. It just means that you really need to kind of sometimes light the fire under your own rear end, okay? And really just get it over with once and for all and say, look, I'm not going through this again. I'm not going around this mountain again. So what's at the root of all the change or the tension or this feeling of like restlessness with you, it is that you need to speak your truth. Now, remember, when we have a closed throat chakra, it's one of 2 things. You either A, aren't speaking your truth, maybe because you don't even know what it is, go figure that out, or B, you did and it was disrespected, disregarded, nothing changed. And you have to come at it again in another way, set a boundary. Sometimes that boundary is walking away. She just fell right off this table and tried to play it cool. Are you okay, mama? So, that's where you are right now. And what we really want to be doing with this is making sure that you're coming out of this phase in the next 2 months. And you're like, I know exactly where I stand. I know exactly what I mean. I know exactly what I want. And I'm speaking it not only with my voice, but with what I won't say. Not just what you show up for, what you won't show up for, what you will and will not respond to. We communicate in many different ways. Okay, so it's all about communication right now, karmically. That's a huge deal. All right, thank you, Yolanda. We are going to move on to Llama Gen X. Llama Gen X, what do I have for you? I feel like it's time for you to kind of pick and choose what you want to do. If you've been feeling like, I don't want to be in a position of power, I don't want to have to tell people what to do. I don't want to be a leader, training people. It's sort of like the universe is pushing you in that position. And in the past, you have done well with it. In the future, you may also potentially, if you use your free will wisely, you will do well with it. But right now, it feels like you're a bit just sort of wanting things to work out for you. It's like you don't really want to put in the work. You don't want to have to put in any more effort into things. You are, I don't want to say burnt out, but you're being passive in ways where we really don't have room and time for you to be passive in. So this is an opportunity for you right now to look at everything that you have. I'm also hearing, they think the glass is half empty all the time, or if there's only a couple sips left, It's like, why even bother? Well, that is a sign that you're not counting your blessings. You're not coming at things with an attitude of gratitude, and you're definitely coming at things with, again, this passivity that says it is what it is. And you know, when you have that, you're not fully seeing how your participation and lack of participation where it ought to be is affecting everything and making it sort of stagnant. Okay, so you have free will. You are in charge of your life. You are the one who decides what you will and will not feed in life. You are not here as a victim. You are not just you know, riding out the circumstances. Whatever is on your plate, you put on your plate. You maintain to keep on your plate. So if you don't like something, if you don't want to do something, you need to own it and you need to create the change. Okay, but you also need to count your blessings in the meantime. Instead of being like, everything's broken, is it? Because you have a pot full of stuff that other people would love to have. And I don't even think you recognize that it's in there. Okay, so a little bit more of that as well. All right, thank you, Llama Gen X. We're going to move on to Maraid. Maraid, what do we have for you? You have a lady coming through who says, stop slumping over, don't arch your back, don't take on any more weight, and like you're basically not a donkey. Okay, so a couple different things, and this feels like a strong maternal energy. She would have had a mouth on her. She would have had bite when she spoke, and I do wonder if she had some cancer in her chart. You know, people misread cancers a lot. Just because someone is loving and they're patient and they like to take care of others and they're watchful, you know, if you cross them, you're going to get, you know, cancers are the serial killers of the world. They're the most convicted, like felons and everything. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see it until it erupts. That was her personality, and she didn't apologize for that. I feel like you need to tap more into that part of you that came from her, where you're unwilling to kind of bend, you're unwilling to break, you're unwilling to allow any type of, whether it be low self-esteem or concepts that people have put on you, previous programming, even generational curses, family dynamics that were toxic, you know, whatever people have put on you, they put their shit on you, basically. And it's caused you to have this, she shows it almost like bad posture, right? Or like a humping over. And she says, you know, sit up straight, get your posture in check, look forward. I also feel like when you do this, when you start having a more steady, like I am owning my energy, I am in my power type attitude, and you're ready to ferociously bite if you have to, whoever is coming to screw up your day, I think that, you know, what's really going to happen is that you kind of look up and you may have thought that everyone was staring at you. You may have thought that everyone was judging or waiting to judge. You may have thought that there were consequences just waiting to pounce on you. However, you know, just because that may have been the pattern in the past doesn't mean it has to continue into the future. So when you look up dead ahead, you're focused on your life, you realize you're completely alone. You know, it reminds me of being in New York City. People talk about how crowded it is and how awful it is and how they can't imagine living there. But when you're there, you either get it or you don't. You either belong there or you don't. When you're there, you're invisible. There is no one else, even though there are millions of people. You're in the flow, you know, and there can be more peace and harmony in where you're going if you stop wrestling and fighting yourself so much. And it mostly comes down to that hunching over. It mostly comes down to that self-esteem or that self-judgment that came from other people originally. So it's a period of time to examine that. I would say at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Who said what to you and who needs to stop living in your head rent free? Thank you, Maraid. We're going to move on to Edgar. Edgar, what do I have for you? I feel like words are being taken out of your mouth. You know, you may be provoked, I heard, this month or for a month. You know, take it how it resonates. But it's almost like someone's saying something to you and they're forcing you to speak. They're pulling words out of your mouth. The way people are going to be talking to you is with an agenda, for sure. You know, you can easily tell when someone approaches you and it's like, open it. I don't know. You know, they don't really care where the conversation's going to go, you know, but other times people are trying, not necessarily hustling you, but they are trying to get you to engage in a very specific way to see if what they're thinking is accurate. Okay, the judgments they've made or the way they would like to see you behave will fit so that they can, make a move after that, given your response. So you're going to want to be mindful that you aren't just talking without thinking first. You're going to want to be mindful of how people's energy actually reads when they approach you. I don't care the smile. I don't care the relaxed body language. I don't care how they're presenting with their words. Energy never lies. So when someone approaches you, you read their energy first. What are they coming at me with? What are they bringing in to this conversation? And if it feels a little bit off or like it's a hustle type energy, you're going to put yourself on guard and you're going to try to figure out why that's happening. I do think ultimately what's going on here is that you're being a bit, it's almost like people aren't sure what to make of you right now. People aren't sure whether they want to promote you in their lives. They want to maybe set you up for something, that could look a bit like maybe failure. People like to come up with ideas and then they like to force people to fit with those ideas. And, you're going to have to feel each one of those out. Okay. Ultimately, you have nothing to hide. Just don't be sloppy with your speech, for sure not. All right, thank you, Edgar. We are going to move on to CJG. For everyone tuning in, this is the Unbound Sage. I am giving you whatever message has been waiting for you from the universe, from your spirits, from my psychic ability, even from your higher mind. If you haven't been listening to your own intuition enough, and you're going to drop a $10 donation. If you are on TikTok or Instagram, that direction is coming up in the feed. And if you are on YouTube or Facebook, it's going to be up in the description. If you guys want to book a private reading with me, Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. Please do give this video a thumbs up. All right, we're going to move on. Let's go to CJG. CJG, what do I have for you? I have you mourning a lot, and that's okay. There's a time when you can't really force your feelings, and you have to just say, you know what, I just need to be numb and get on with my life, okay? And then it comes up sort of out of nowhere. And I feel like some of this is the astrology for you. This may be eclipse season and some other stuff you have in your chart in regards to Virgo, like Virgo placements. You have some, I want to say predominant placements that are causing for a bit of an eruption of emotions, flashbacks, memories, an opportunity here for closure, an opportunity for shadow work. But it's mostly going to be a blessing in that, when we try to force our own healing, I mean, sometimes you just can't. You can go to therapy for years on end and walk out every time and be like, I don't know. I mean, I definitely am going bankrupt over this, but like, I don't know. I don't really feel better on a whole. But a moment like this will hit where the universe says, I'm just going to handle it for you. Let me take it the rest of the way home. You've done well. We're going to cleanse this out. All you really have to do is go along for the ride. And so this is one of those blessed opportunities. It may not be the most comfortable thing, and you may have felt like this was really brewing in the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's almost like if you're crying a lot or, you're driving, you're just trying to like live life and get to work and whatever. And all of a sudden you're just, bawling in the car, or a song sets you off, or a memory. And that's good. That's okay. All right. So you're in a process right now, let's say, of releasing grief and doing any type of alchemy from past pain, hurt, and loss. And the universe is really just showing you, bam, 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 this is what needs to go. I'm going to help you purge it. And here's what you we're supposed to take from this. And all you have to really do is embrace it. Okay. So give it the time that it deserves. Honor this process. I wouldn't even journal it out if I were you. What's coming to you, what you're letting go of. It can help you to dive a little deeper. All right. Thank you. I really can't see anything because someone has stolen. Thank you, ma'am. Can I have my, thank you so much. Okay. So we are done with CJG. We're going to move on. Move your towel. Oh my heavens, heavens, Heavens to Betsy. What do you need? What do you need? Brianna M on TikTok. All right, Brianna, what do I have for you? Brianna, I feel like you're keeping a candle lit. And, you know, this can mean a couple different things. If you recently lost some people, you do have like, I want to say 3 to 5 people who've been keeping an eye on you. We have one maternal energy. We have paternal energy. We have 2 more masculine energies, one who passed before his time. We have someone who was smoking, had a cancerous condition, or smoked. We've got, you know, you've got a lot of people around. You have another female, feels like also another maternal energy, but like younger, may have also passed a bit before her time. The thing is this, you know, when you're keeping a candle lit for them, you're essentially thinking on them. You don't have to literally be burning a candle, okay? But you are aware of them. You're listening for messages from them. You are trying to connect with them in a deeper way. So instead of just saying like, oh, you know, my grandma came through, like, that's awesome, she's sending me love, you would instead say, what is she trying to tell me? Is she giving me direction on something going on in my life? You may have also been recently reaching out to your loved ones in spirit and your guides and asking for more guidance, especially in regards to like a relationship dynamic. Yes, I love you. If you're dealing with someone, I want to say where they're not really showing all their cards, they can either show their cards or they can go, right? Because that's self-protection, that's self-preservation. So whenever you're dealing with someone and they, you know, they're kind of, there's omission, you know, they're half-assing it. I mean, they kind of communicate with you. Like if you pull teeth and you're willing to invest your energy in getting it out of them, I would say that no adult should be acting that way. So if they don't know how to act, if they don't know how to speak clearly, if they don't know how to show you what cards they're holding, and you put your whole hand out on the table, you know, then they're going to have to go. You're going to have to set up some boundaries there. All right. Thank you, Brianna. Let's move on to another one here from Lucy. Lucy, what message do I have for you? You know, Lucy, when I go over here with you, I feel like there's a lot of talk here of, I want to say cats. Now, cats can mean 2 different things. Can mean a cat showing up in your driveway, and you could potentially end up getting caught up in the distribution system. But it can also mean that this is a time of protection in your life. This is a time where you need additional protection. Cats can also be about deception and needing to be careful about the company you keep. You may have some people around you who aren't necessarily trying to be in your close inner circle, but they're around frequently enough, you know, or they're enough of an acquaintance. Well, you may never think of them as, you know, being a problem for you. If they have deceptive intent with you, if they're jealous of you, if they don't want to see you move up, if they don't want to see you in that space, in that circle, doing well, they could be sending, you know, a lot of not just that kind of energy, because energy is just energy, but they could be actively trying to manipulate. So you're going to need to watch for that for a while, especially if you're entering into a new system, like a new work environment. If you're entering into a residency situation where maybe you have like new roommates, or it's like your friend group expanding, okay? You're going to want to watch in these key areas. I also feel like this is a great time for you. And I'm not saying you have to go get cats. You have to accept every cat that ends up on your porch or whatever. But, you know, there is a certain amount of protection that comes with having a cat. And they do not only amazing work with like paranormal issues, but also like she'll growl. You know, if someone comes up to the property, she'll be standing at the door and growling like a dog. You know, they're also able to cleanse out negative energy. So this may be something that you need to keep in mind as a reflection of yourself, almost like a totem, like you're showing up as the cat. You need to do that for your own self and be more mindful of that. Okay, I would say at least for the next 3 months. All right, thank you, Lucy. We're going to move on to Luda. Luda, what do I have for you? You have a gentleman coming through here smoking a cigar. Feels like paternal energy, but probably more like a grandfather. He looks a bit older. He would have been tall. I want to say ballpark, 6'1", 6'2". He would have been, I don't want to say lanky, but he was one of these people that just had good metabolism. So like a lot of meat never really built up on the bones. He was just muscular, even in his older age. When he comes through here, he's watching you and he's smoking a cigar. And he may have loved the ganja at one point too, because he smokes it like he's smoking a joint. But it is a cigar. And where a cigar is a symbol of celebration in your life, you are looking at a promotion, you are looking at an expansion, you are looking at being seen instead of for the title you've earned in your career, seen as a brand as a whole, meaning you, not just your skill set, but your integrity, your character. People want to come to you. So this is a great opportunity if you wanted to get into anything on your own, a side hustle, entrepreneurship, business ownership, anything like that. You being seen and heard in a different way than what you ever have in the past. And that's not to say you haven't had skill for many years, but you needed to be seen beyond just your skill set. And what happens with a development like this is that people will come to you with offers, maybe wanting to partner up. You are a mess today, sister. What happened? They will, want to kind of, bring you in the fold. You have to pick and choose at this point, okay? You're going to have to pick and choose what you want to invest in, because when you have a level up like this, all that glitters is not gold. Now, he's going to be watching over you with the cigar and celebrating, but also telling you not this, but yes, that. Also, if you're in the process of making some bigger decisions, we do have a lady coming through here who would have cooked a lot. She would have obsessively cleaned. I smell apple cider vinegar, like vinegar, in her house, cleaning with it, keeping rags until there were literal holes, and I can still use this one more time. She is talking about if you are in a position right now to invest in something, renegotiate a contract, sign a contract for the first time, verbal agreements of any kind, hold off a little bit. Hold off. There's this feeling of like 2 to 3. Could it be 2 to 3 days? It could. I was going to say 2 to 3 weeks. Take it out, resonates. But it's like there is no deadline. Even if you're told there's a deadline, I say let's negotiate the deadline also. Take your time. There could be additional information coming in, or maybe it's just important that you really feel it. Sometimes I won't agree to do something just because I'm like, I just feel like I want to wait a minute. It keeps you also in a power position in negotiation when the clock is waiting on you, right? Good luck with all that. Very exciting. All right, Nigeria love. Nigeria love. What do I have for you? There's a lot of healing going on. It feels like with your ancestry, if you've been doing any type of like ceremonies, this doesn't have to be with a big group of people or a literal ceremony. It could even just be with your higher mind, healing your heart, working with your ancestors in spirit, family, but you're releasing from some things in your past that were very restrictive. And while we don't necessarily want to look at our family as being the problem, and I don't believe in generational curses as a real thing, I do believe in generational programming. And even our family, if they're well-intended, they may have gotten involved in a lot of things that they didn't really want to get involved with. Think of our grandmothers, think of our mothers, think of our great-grandmothers. They didn't want to have any of us, right? Like they were entrapped in that system. I mean, who would actually be here if it was by choice? It's that type of energy that comes up here. How did that get passed down through the generations until it hit you? You're letting go of some of that because it does restrict the way you think about your purpose here on earth. And it has been restricting your willingness to sort of evolve and level jump when you don't know the outcome. If you have to do something in blind faith, if you have to make a move and it's like barely a calculated risk, it's just feeling like a full-on risk. I don't know what the payout is going to be. You may make yourself small and punish yourself and say, well, I should just accept what it is. Or I guess I'm blessed just to even have this. And it's like, don't eat the crumbs off the floor. You know what I mean? Step right over them to something bigger. So definitely some healing in that area going on with you. Look at the roots of where it came from. All right. Thank you, Nigeria Love. We're going to move on to Deanna. Deanna, what do I have for you? Money, 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 money. What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to put it? Where are you supposed to put it? What would be best to do with it? It's almost like I'm splitting it. It's like you have the stack of cash, and then I see 2 stacks of cash. And it's like, this one is where the power is. This one has got to go out. This has got to probably pay bills. This has to get me out of debt. This is going to go to like maintaining my lifestyle, whatever it is. But it's like you're splitting it. And then you're splitting it. It reminds me of a tarot deck. When I watch tarot readers, it's like, why are they cutting it? So many times it's like they have a certain number in their head that they need to cut it. And then they'll have some answer or message or outcome, you know, and it makes sense to them to make a move after that. It's ready to go. But it's like you just keep cutting it and cutting it and cutting it. And you have this look on your face. It's almost like your poker face, but like you have a smirk. And so, you know, I feel, and I'm getting most of this from your work and money guide, I feel like you're just sort of buying time right now. It's like you're just going through the same motions over and over and over again. And what you really need to do right now is to figure out what else you can do with that pile of money. Okay. So your resources in general, that's your time, that's your attention, that's your affection, that's your energy, that's your skill set, and it's your money, it's your investments, it's your shared income with a spouse or anyone else, okay? When we look at this pile, how can we make some more concrete decisions and get moving, get on with it, get to the next phase? You're going to have some pressure coming in that's going to force you to make those decisions over the next 2 months in general. And don't be afraid to move forward, especially in regards to releasing something. Okay. So shifting money, shifting resources around so that you can release, have more release, which will make room for new to come in. Okay. So we want to see an increase with prosperity here, not just the same old, same old. I also think that when you look at this other pile of money and we're feeling like this is where the power is, there's something that's unevolved there as well. You know, you need to stop looking outside yourself for the resources. The government, my employer, right? I don't know, my taxes, a spouse, like whatever it is, a loan. You need to stop looking there and you need to be more introspective. Go inside yourself and say, what resources in me are untapped? Or what is the next step for me to evolve? What am I supposed to develop? There's more in there that you haven't. You may be reaching into your past and pulling something forward, okay, to be offered to the public that can bring a significant, it could be very lucrative for you, significant amount of resources in. All right, thank you, Deanna. We're going to move on to another one. This is Christina B. Okay, Christina B, what do I have for you? I would be quiet if I were you. I would, you know, you have a way of entering into situations and you'll be like back and forth, and I like banter and I like things to be transparent and I like, you know, to kind of have the energy flowing. And I'm not saying you have to always be doing that verbally, because I do see you sometimes being what would appear to other people as being quite introverted, you know, reserved, pulled back. You sort of decline, you know, and you observe, which is great. But you could still energetically have that level of banter going on with people, even if you're not saying a whole heck of a lot. I feel like what's important for you going forward is to be more conservative about what you're sharing energetically, mentally, emotionally, certainly verbally. Don't forget that everything you give is, you know, a resource that you're sharing. Everyone should be feeling like honored to get anything from you, whether that's a conversation, you know, response in text, you know, that be your time. It is an honor for people to receive the resources you're willing to give. Okay. Now, if you find, and this is what I think we're talking about here, that there are some situations and relationships and dynamics that you're involved in where that isn't being appreciated, that isn't being reciprocated, you may have to do some cutthroat kind of, I'm seeing Queen of Swords, off with their heads, off with their heads. And just getting rid of people. I see you tossing a gruesome symbol here, but it's almost like if you were on a boat And these people are situations where weighing down your boat. It's like you're chopping these people up and you're throwing them over to the sharks. Okay. Like you've got this is symbolically saying you've got enough to worry about in life. You don't need dead weight in your life. Okay. And so, or people who don't have good intentions with you, or people who want to ride your coattails and just, suck up your energy, kind of like vampires. So yeah, there's going to definitely be some cleansing that needs to happen with this. I don't feel like it's a big problem for you. I feel like what you do is you trip yourself up and you get in your own way. So you may say, yes, this isn't really someone who's reciprocating with me. I need to have boundaries there. But then you kind of try to smooth it over just so you're not going to rock the boat. You don't want to be the one to rock the boat, but that's not going to be possible any longer. Okay, so I think see you moving through it pretty well, actually. You could be totally heartless when you have to be. All right, that's a beautiful thing. All right, we're going to move on to Manny. Manny, what am I getting for you? Couple different things, and they seem to be connected. I see you moving coins around. So also be watching from your loved ones. Pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, tokens, right? We call them pennies from heaven. As signs and symbols that you are being pushed in one direction, or they're validating the direction that you're taking. I do think that you're doing some heart healing right now. And I do think that you're looking at sort of what you have, trying to have an attitude of gratitude, trying to say, I am blessed, but also feeling like you only have pennies, or you only have dimes, you only have nickels and quarters. And, maybe you would like to have stacks and stacks and stacks of cash, or big gold bricks, or, yachts and whatnot. But when we look at your resources, you're also saying, hey, if I got 1,000,000 quarters, I'm not doing too poorly here. That adds up. And so you're also being realistic about that. God bless you. My God, she's a mess today. Yeah. I don't know where oh, honey. The cat's going to puke up a hairball, or a bird, or who knows what she's been getting into here. So, what we need to do at this point is to really say, well, I still need to, look and see what needs to change. And wherever you feel you're giving too much of your energy, too many of your resources, financial or energetic, mental or emotional, okay, you are going to have to cut back, and it may be with people. Okay, so you could have like family members in particular. I mean, I think all of these are family members in one way, shape, or form. That does not mean they have to be full on blood relation, but it does feel like with family relationships of the most intimate kind for you, there may be too much going out there. Okay, and it's leaving you with pennies. And once you get left with pennies, like, you are kind of up shit's creek, energetically, financially, okay, literally. So just be mindful of that process. You okay, mama? All right. We are going to move on to Jill Marie. Jill Marie, what am I getting for you? Immediately, Jill, I do have your mom talking about her having a closed throat chakra. She says she would have, while she was here on earth, had a closed throat chakra. So she didn't say the right things. She didn't apologize when she should have. She didn't almost think before she talked, before she spoke. She would let whatever came out of her mouth come out of her mouth before it even processed through her brain. And she is owning that right now. She, here's a point I think she's trying to make. Sometimes when we think about people they're not speaking their truth, they have a closed throat chakra, we also don't think about the fact that they just sputter nonsense a lot of the time. They spit out hateful things, right? Their tongue cuts like a knife. It goes both ways. And she didn't fix it. She didn't really even work on it. I don't know if she drank, but she does show like drinking, what looks to me like more like wine and things like that. But that is symbolic, could be literal, take it out, resonates, of avoidance and escapism. Avoidance and escapism as a sort of personality as a whole. And so knowing that she needed to do this work and just deciding not to may have led to a lot of heartache. It could have led to a lot of miscommunications between you and her, and she is trying to bridge that gap. She's also showing angel wings, and she's showing very specifically, you know that emoji, if you have an iPhone, well, I'm seeing the iPhone one, but I think it's on both. I'm sure it is. Android too, but it's like, it's a wing emoji. It's an angel wing emoji or a white wing. Okay. She's talking about leaving you white feathers. Now, some of them may have a little bit of gray or a little bit of brown on them on the outside, but for the most part, they're going to be white. And she says she's also calling you and calling you and calling you and calling you. Now, this is going to be symbolic of her giving you the ear ringing. So if you guys ever get that annoying tinnitus or that ear ringing in the left side, the grandmothers used to say left for love, right for spite, and that was fairly accurate. It's the left ear for mediumship and the right ear for your psychic ability. So she's going to be ringing your ears a lot, Jill, and I would expect an increase in the shower. The native belief is the porcelain, the earth, the water, the mirrors. You know, these are all conductors of communication with the other side. 2 dreams, she says, showing up in 2 dreams. I don't know if you're looking for paperwork. Somebody's looking for paperwork about the bills or the money she gets paid. I don't know that it's insurance money necessarily. At one point, this may split off and become 2 things, but there may also be looking for the money or looking for the payments, that come in. I thought it was more like a retirement type payment. And it's like it's in a safe and then it was moved to a drawer and like everything. She's got a lot of things to say. Okay, so she'll be helping with that as well, but it's also like, take it off your chest. It's not your problem. Okay, take it off your chest. It's not your problem. She just wants you to know how much she loves you. She's sending you love, and this really does feel like a very heavy apology. All right, let's move on to Tanya. Tanya S. Tanya S., what do I have for you? You know, I have you walking through a field bare-legged. I heard a lady say bare-legged. She's bare-legged, and it's like mud, which is actually a great money symbol. But it's like, you're not just barefoot, you're bare-legged. So, you know, but you're not going very far. So here's what I think is going on. First of all, you have some deceased loved ones keeping an eye on you, maternal energies in particular, talking about, you know, going through a period of life literally right now, even in the last 48 hours, then for the next like ballpark week and a half to maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, where you're going to be walking through the mud and you're going to be feeling as though things aren't moving very fast, but you are somehow basking in prosperity or potential prosperity. And that would be very accurate. This is a money symbol. So the more mud, the merrier, right? The sloppier the symbol with this, the better. And the fact that it's going up to your knees and you're not like, oh my God, I'm in quicksand, but you're loving it, okay, is a really good vibe. I think what you need to be doing is making sure that for the next few weeks, you are looking at your options. You're examining opportunities, you're letting opportunities come to you, you're manifesting opportunities, which means you're claiming things, you're pulling things towards you, but you're not chasing them, you're not worried about them, you're not fixated on them. Get rid of any of that, okay? That's going to ruin your prosperity here. But I think that what happens is that, you know, you have 2 to 3 different options that you could take to elevate, to level up. This isn't just with your finances. It's also work opportunity. It's expansion on your portfolio, expansion on your title, your experiences, networking. It's also health, an improvement in health, especially through this area. And it can lead to better sleep, almost like aging backward, recuperation, and day-to-day lifestyle, finally becoming what you've really been wanting it to be. All right, so I'm loving this for you. Enjoy it. You know, the one thing I would say may sometimes trip you up is you overthinking. You do have cyclical patterns of thoughts. And I don't know, and I'm not trying to prescribe or diagnose, but as a girl with OCD, and it was rarely ever diagnosed, you know, we tend to not diagnose women with this type of thing. Mine was so bad I was diagnosed as a kid. So I sometimes see with you, and again, I'm not saying you have this, but when you get yourself caught in loops and you can't seem to stop them. And they're just negative. It's just trash. It's like stinking thinking. It's like, I just keep replaying this thought or this paranoia or this worst case scenario or this thing I have to perfect, or I have to find an answer to this, or this has to be done right. When you find yourself doing that, you're going to want to be more mindful and stop and say, you know what? I don't think that's normal. I think that this is a thought that for most people, they would just observe and release. And instead, you're caught like a mouse on a wheel in this thing. Okay. So you're going to want to stop that and find some new tools to use so that you're not kind of, I heard masking through the next few weeks in these opportunities. And that's part of it, but also just not catching the full story. Okay, because people get caught up in loops mentally. They really can't be very present, and opportunities can easily pass them by. Okay, so don't become obsessed over that, but you understand what I'm saying. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to another one. Did I cross that off? I think I did. I need a new piece of paper. This is a mess. Emily D. Okay, Emily D is next. All right, Emily D, what do I have for you? You know, you seem to be getting, I heard irritated, but I want to say irritable. Someone's making you irritable. And while we have to own our energy, and we don't want to say somebody made me that way, we also have to be realistic. The triggers are a thing, and that people can be annoying or deceptive, or things aren't moving forward in a situation as they should have been. If everybody came to the table and everybody made certain agreements, right? Contractual, verbal, whatever, then why aren't things moving? Okay, because there's someone in the way. There's some nonsense in the way. You may be looking at a couple different relationships. One does feel romantic, or one feels work related. There may also be some family dynamics like that, where it's like same thing, reminds me of Groundhog Day, over and over and over and over again. And you're like, this is not what I agreed to, but technically it is. If you show up for it, then it is what you agreed to. It may not be what you originally thought it would be or what you want. The highest vibration is to have movement in your life, regardless of what other people in your life are or are not doing. You know, you need to be willing to, with fluidity, say, I move through life and circumstances, relationships and places, and I do it to fulfill my life contract and to do what's for my highest and best good. People and situations may come with me for a period of time, but if they start to stagnate out my flow, then they will have to go. And that's it. And you detach emotionally from that the best you can, and you release, okay, whatever is holding you back. So it's sort of the symbol of like you dropping boulders, you dropping burdens that you've decided to, it's like a ball and chain, you've decided to chain yourself to, but that's an illusion. When we look at like the devil card in tarot, right, it's the devil sitting on the throne, and then he's got like a lady and a guy, right, at his feet, and they have chains on them, but they're not actually locked. They could go, they could do whatever they need to do, so they're not stuck at the devil's feet, you know, but they're choosing to stay there. They've been like brainwashed, right? Programmed into believing maybe they have to stay there, or they're waiting on the other one. You know, whenever I see that card, I think of her like maybe waiting on him and he's never ready. And so she's stuck, you know, but it's like, go, if you can go, go, right? So that's going to be the key to your evolution, financially, romantically, and in even like family dynamics, but you may be looking more at boundary setting. Okay, for sure. Thank you. We're going to move on to Natasha Johnson. Natasha Johnson, what do I have for you? I have a degree, I have a program, I have a certification, I have some kind of title, I have a certificate. So if you are going through something or you're approaching some type of graduation, some leveling up, I feel congratulations for you, but I also have one behind you. So it almost feels like the second level. You know, this reminds me when someone goes and gets a degree and then they go for their master's, they go for their PhD, they go for their, you know, it's the next thing. It's the next thing. And so I think with all of this, what we're really looking at right now is also like, where do you want to be? I think you're looking at like, how much money do you want to be making? What state do you want to be living in? I'm not saying you necessarily want to move out of state. And I do have you looking at whether it be like children or obligations. This could also be like job opportunities. I mean, whatever bills, okay, whatever's kind of heavy or may weigh you down. I do have you looking at that stuff and still being willing to say, yeah, but where do I want to go? Where am I going to be allowed to fully expand in the way that I want to? What is the full extent? What are the possibilities here? And so you put in a lot of hard work. You've done nose to the grind time. You got the second payout coming in here where it's like really going to be something you can ride, I want to say, for the rest of your life. And it is a huge deal. For the next 3 years, I'm hearing get the gold, get the gold. And what that's going to mean is that you're sort of earning these like certificates, whether it be in your field or like networking through opportunities. So then you have those new tools and skill sets, different projects that you may get involved with. It's sort of like your name at the top, the credentials. It's like this keeps accumulating for the next 3 years. And you're really walking out now, everything you've worked on and learned. And I think that after that, it's really putting you in a very, I'm hearing, kind position from your work and money guide, as well as your joy guide who watches over your mental and emotional well-being and your spiritual development. So it's like the two of them working in cahoots to make sure that after that, you are in a very kind position to do whatever the heck you want. You want to live on a boat? Go live on a boat. You want to travel the world? You want to work from a computer? You'll be able to do that. You want to get the house of your dreams? You're going to be able to do that. You want dual citizenship? You want to have a couple places here and there? Okay, we could start looking at that more seriously. It's like what is the difference between then and now? I think it's that comfort level. If you start making some of these significant changes now, especially where big changes like to your work environment or residency are concerned, it may feel a little bit like you don't have as solid a foundation underneath your feet as you may want. That doesn't mean you don't have one. Okay, so I feel like go for it. Do whatever, make whatever changes you want to make at this time. Lots of celebration. Congratulations. You've earned it. Elena C, what do I have for you? I have a lady coming through, may have had a lot of health conditions before passing that looks something like dialysis or even cancer treatments. It was a systemic issue. It eventually took a hold of her feet, her legs, swelling, mobility may have been compromised in some way. And like weight gain fluctuations, sometimes it reminds me of when people get on steroids and they kind of blow up and then they size down. Something in that vein. Just know that when she comes through, she watches over you in a maternal way. But she has almost like a sisterly feel to her, where she didn't seem like, a much older person. She had a playful, younger spirit, still does about her. When she comes in here with you, she's talking about you needing to pay better attention to your dreams. You've been waking up and maybe feeling like anxious, or it's like you're stress dreaming, or it's like I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go back to sleep. I feel like nothing's wrong. I wasn't necessarily having a nightmare, but like, I don't want to go back in there. I don't want it to happen. It's like, let me just force myself to get through the day, even though I'm exhausted. It's like something is happening with your sleep state where you're not fully resting and recuperating in the way she would like to see you do. I also feel like you've been getting a lot of signs, a lot of symbols. You're maybe not looking them up well enough. Keep a dream journal. I tell everyone, okay, keep a notepad and pen in the bed. And remember that when you wake up from a dream, you have to jot down the main symbology before you roll over or get up to pee or take a drink of water, because it just gets pulled out of you so quick. We've all had a moment where we're like, I will not forget that dream. I'm going to look that dream up and it's gone. I mean, you can't recoup it for anything. So what she's talking about here is that you've been getting a lot of direction in your dreams. You've also been doing quite a lot of battling in your dreams. So you're sort of struggling. You're struggling if you're having repeat dreams of the same kind of nightmare, or you're in a house or something where there's like a lot of doors. You're kind of feeling lost. You're going over things again and again and again. And I think this would be a good time for maybe some therapy, or more processing of your subconscious, paying attention to things in your life, also in regards to family, where you feel like maybe you need to set better boundaries, or things have been limiting there in some way. She is talking about also healing to your heart going on right now. And this could also be involving a love partner, or it feels like maybe a younger male. She's just saying a younger male. This could be someone who's immature as well. It doesn't have to literally be based on age. But it seems like you're giving a lot of love and you're saying all the right things and you're trying to like nourish this person. And it's almost like they don't want to play, like they don't want to grow, like they don't want to learn, like they don't want to do, like they just want to live and have and be catered to. You know, it's learned helplessness is what it is. And you may be like kind of packing up and being like, you know what, I got to spend this somewhere else, you know, because now it's starting to take a toll on your heart. So just be mindful of situations like that as well. Thank you. We're going to move on to a Stephanie K. Stephanie K, what's going on with you? I feel like you're trying to throw everything out. I feel like you're in your house. This would have been like in recent weeks. I'm hearing 3. So it could have also been up to 3 months, but I was going to say more like, you know, 3 days, 3 weeks. It's like, I'm going to go through every room and I'm going to throw out what I don't want. Like a printer. What is this? You know, this old printer from the 90s. It's like, this has got to go, like junk, whatever junk is there. You are symbolically cleaning out your house, which you may be doing literally, but it is about your life. The house represents you, right? You got the attic, you know, you have, is my TikTok acting up? Something's happening with TikTok. I'll keep an eye on it. You know, you have all these different things going on in your life that you don't really want to hold on to anymore, let's say. And essentially what you're supposed to be doing right now is looking at what doesn't make you feel excited, what doesn't make you feel vibrant, when there's no exuberance, when there's no ultimate celebration for where it can lead and where it will take you. It's just dull and it needs to go. Old, dusty, crusty objects all around you in your life, you know, from people to places, even some residency stuff you may be looking at making an upgrade or complete transition with. That's also happening in the workspace. I also feel you doing it with your money. And that was actually the first thing that came up for you was like, and I don't know if you used to play the clarinet or if this was like the, what the heck is that? You know, what's that called? When you have to wet that thing and you have to slide it in the top of the, I played the flute for a million years, but a beaker, what the hell is that thing called? Anyways, you know, there's that thing, okay, you have to like wet, it's like a piece of wood, you have to stick it in the, and it's like, you know, what Spirit's saying to you today is like, if you can't just have that mouthpiece, this sounds so wrong, like you can't just have it dry and expect beautiful music to come out of it, okay? You can't. Apply that however it applies in your life, okay? But like, if it's dry, it's not going to play. There's not going to be any like magical moments in your life. And it's almost like you're trying to act like that isn't true. It's like you're trying to just overlook it and be like, it's okay. I don't need music or magic in my life, or I don't need to like, you know, play this instrument properly and invest in it. I don't need to, you know, give it that amount of time to get it right. But, you know, eventually, you know, I think especially with, you know, the woodwinds and the, you know, the different instruments where you do have to put in a process like that to get it just right. Like I remember with the flute, like you had to turn it. You know, it's amazing the difference. You can't just come at it, you know, with force. And once there is a connection there, it's phenomenal what will happen on its own. It's very much almost like you're just channeling something, you know, bigger than you from the universe through this instrument. And I don't think you're seeing your life that way. I think you're seeing it more as like you're butting heads up against a brick wall. And it's just like, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like, you need to finesse your life a little bit more. Okay. You need to get into it. That was a very peculiar message. I hope that made sense. And clearly that could be some sexual referencing there. Whether I intended it or not. All right, Shauna DC. What do I have for you? Shauna DC. You know, I have somebody rolling a ball over to you. And this is always going to suggest that you be more playful. If you have in the last couple months been taking more time to play, self-soothe, self-care, even spending on yourself, spa days. I mean, I don't care what, reading a book, having more tea, meditation time, whatever you've been doing, they see that you've been doing it and they're encouraging you to do this. So this is your deceased loved ones, your ancestors. You've even got some guides getting in on this message, your joy guide in particular. And I think that what's happening, I have to do this puzzle thing on TikTok. But I'm going to keep talking. You guys should still be able to hear me. Actually, I'm going to wait because my mic is over here. I don't know why it does this. It's the weirdest setup. Only on TikTok. Right, Mama? So who was I with? Shauna. You know, the idea too of, I want to say, this ball being a dark blue is also symbolic of self-empowerment. So when we talk about the color blue in any shade, it's progressive, but from light to dark, and this is a dark blue ball, you know, what we're talking about here is you've been working on your self-empowerment through self-care. Okay. And they're proud of you, and you need to continue to do so. What happens after this, though, is really interesting. And I want to say that in the upcoming month, now, technically this comes up in your free will zone, so I can't give 100% guarantee on what's going to happen here. But over the upcoming month, there could be some paranormal problems coming up. So if you're dealing with someone who has drug and alcohol abuse issues, if you're dealing with someone who has a mental health crisis, but like isn't dealing with it, if you're dealing with people who are attracting toxic negative energy, especially like males in the family, especially older males in the family, right? But they're not really doing anything. You can see deterioration of their health and their circumstance, whatever it is. You're really saying, it's not my job to be a ghostbuster. It's not my job to fix paranormal problems all the time that are accumulating, you know, from other people who aren't owning their energy, who aren't keeping it clean, who aren't coming with a high vibration. And I just have you watching it. I just have you watching it and saying, let the chips fall where they may. You know, ultimately, though, let's be realistic. If that is happening in your personal space, you will eventually have to clean all that up. And you may be saying to yourself at this point in life, I don't know how much of this shit I want to clean up constantly. Why should I have to clean it up? You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep it clean and maintain it if it keeps coming in. You can't maintain something like that, like a high vibrational energy. You know, you got to get the problem out of the way. So you'll be looking at that, okay? And I feel good about all of this, but it feels like a lot of work, you know? Don't forget to have days where you're doing nothing, literally nothing, mindless downtime, okay? Let's move on to another one. This is Divine Rose on TikTok. I love that. Divine Rose, what do I have for you? We could be looking at a relationship getting more serious. We have a ring moving from the middle finger to the marriage or engagement finger. Now, you don't have to take this literally, okay? But this would be any type of intimate partnership that you have where we are moving from what was a lighter friendship or a relationship that is a bit more maybe convenient, I guess, into something more committed, for sure, with deeper levels of intimacy by two. I don't think we're talking sexual intimacy here. I think we're talking about like mental, more mental connection and sharing of communication. So intimacy and communication. So communication skills increasing. This is different, you know, than what you've had in the past. This is reconnecting you to some past life stuff. It's time for you to revisit, and it could be, you know, a really magical time for you. I also feel like you're applying this to your career. So you're going to find that within your work, you're also speaking more, teaching, leading, communicating, whether you wanted to or not. You're going to be put in those positions, presenting, and you're going to be offered as well. Okay. You're going to be offered some opportunities for significant growth in teaching, training, leading going forward. You may want to lock some of that down. It may take up a considerable amount of time to be successful in these trainings or projects. And I think it's nice for you. Oh, God bless you, Mama. This poor cat. I think it's going to be nice for you also because you enjoy this flow of being able to complete a project and then sort of leave it behind and just get on to something else. Now, there's another symbol that comes along with this ring, moving from the middle finger to the committed finger, and that is about balance. I think it's a really important time for you to not get lost in relationships. You know, when you have any type of intimate partnership, it doesn't have to just be romantic, any type of intimate partnership, it's very easy to lose yourself when you have been trained your entire life to center others. Okay? So just be careful about that as you go forward. We are going to move on to another one. This is for Megan. I do want to stop real quick for those of you who are tuning in late. If you haven't already done so, please give this video a thumbs up. Drop a comment of any kind. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to book a party, a psychic fair, or a reading with me, I do work internationally. Go to Ivy Rivera psychicmedium.com. Thanks so much for being here. And share this video. All right, Megan R. Megan R is next. You know, you've been feeling disempowered. And I wonder if this has been going on for so long you don't know how to even identify it anymore, but it does feel like circumstances have been holding you back. And I can't prescribe or diagnose, but you know, some of this could have been health or mental health related. You know, other things are just circumstantial. You know, it's money stuff, it's job stuff, it's life stuff. But when you have an accumulation of blocks and obstacles and you start to feel like no matter how hard you work at things, you're not really moving forward at the speed, or you're not getting as far as you ought to, you know, go. So you think you can start to feel quite defeated. And I think what's happening over the next, I want to say ballpark 2 to 4 months, with a peak at 2 months out from now, and then a peak again between the 4th and the 5th month, with the 4th and the 5th month looking very different. So 5 months out from now, you're going to be looking back at even the previous month and say, oh my God, my life is so different. Like things have changed so dramatically. I am almost unrecognizable, right? I am enjoying where I am, and I'm ready to just leave the past behind me and close the book, right? Close the lid. Okay, like it's ending a saga, it's ending that chapter of my life. So endings, new beginnings. This may also be getting pushed for you significantly by eclipse season going on right now. You know, when I look at your planets, it's like getting hit here, 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 here. So a lot happening there. You're not necessarily doing a lot to make it happen. It's just happening to you. You want to see it as happening for you. So you want to use your free will to take these opportunities to evolve. Now, with these circumstances shifting and moving out of the way, these blocks and obstacles being loosened or setting you free, you know, you have to remember, you can, especially like, I think it's like 2 weeks out from now, I see something significant happening. Somebody telling you something, someone's giving you a message, someone's offering you something. They're saying sort of like, come along with me. You know, you have to remember what happens when you've been stuck for a long time. I think of these elephants who get set free from the circus, for example. The chains can be removed from their neck and their feet, but they don't seem to realize they can run, you know, or like a horse kept in a pen. You can open the pen, but they don't always remember that they're a horse, you know, and that they're supposed to run free. So you're going to want to be mindful of that. Don't hold yourself back just because you've had a bunch of circumstances holding you back. You know, don't adopt it as part of your personality or your way of thinking. All right, we're going to move on to another one. This is Angela T. Angela T, what do we have coming in here for you? You know, you have a couple grandparents who watch over you, and I don't know if you've been looking more at your roots. You've like indigenous and native roots. I think I'm talking Cherokee, something there, that the feathers go down. Some we go up, some we go down. Yours go down. You have some ancestors and loved ones watching over you, primarily, you know, grandparent types, mother side and paternal side of the family. I want to say there's talk here of the math not mathing, and you looking at whether it be you know, your bloodline and trying to figure out more, again, about your roots, your spirituality, trying to make sense of things, also the way you think. And I can't prescribe or diagnose, but we do see a lot of similarities between neurodivergence and intuitive people, intuitive intelligence. I tell my students, by the end of the psychic mediumship course, prove to me this isn't neurodivergence. It's just, not in the DSM-5 or whatever. It's very similar energy going on here. So you may be saying like, I don't fit in with other people. The way I think doesn't match other people. The way I've been handling life, is maybe I need a different structure on the way I've been processing things in my life, or I've been told to process things. You're different and you want to know why. And the universe is making it blatantly clear, right? Very, very obvious to you in recent months, and will for about 4 to 6, maybe 9 months going forward, that you are very different from other people also in the way that you process things like emotions, like you have some empathy, awareness of others, self-awareness. And this may be something in recent years you've had to kind of shut down in order to fit in. And you're saying, I'm not doing that anymore, So this feels very much like diving deep into your roots. It also feels like it can lead to concepts like, the revolution we're currently in, activism even. What else does it also mean for you in like work? Shared resources, who do you want to be working with? Don't forget, money is power, right? Money is power. You give someone views, you give someone $1, you give someone recognition, you give them power. You may be looking more deeply at that and being like, I'm not giving anything over here, and you're owning your moral compass and ethical code of conduct more. There's this sense of you moving more into leadership position. Also, okay, and looking also at like family members and friends who maybe have a very martyrdom or victimhood mentality, and saying, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And I'm not saying you have to cut them off, but I'm saying, you definitely don't want to have anything to do with that. So what is that going to mean in time? Well, definitely some changes in growth levels, right? People have to both be growing in order for any type of relationship to really work. And if you're the only one growing, well, there are going to be problems there. So keep that in mind. It's an exciting time for you. You definitely have a calling on your life to do something like this. So don't dismiss it because you can't hide from it forever. Rosaline, what do I have coming in here for Rosaline? I want to say that you're in a better position than what you think you are. You have 2 ladies coming through here, both mom's side of the family. I want to say first generation maternal energy, then the second generation back, and everyone's drinking tea. Okay, so it's like the 3 of you sitting at a table, all with these different teacups, but they all seem to be like roses or purple flowers and like, beautiful little blue flowers. So the idea of drinking tea with these ladies, this is a prosperity symbol. I see honey on the table. That's a double prosperity symbol, and we are using spoons, so a triple prosperity symbol. There's not a ton of conversation going on where the lips are moving, so it's all telepathic. I would expect to have 3 to 5 dreams where something like this is happening, where they're giving you more insight on this particular topic. They may or may not show up in those dreams, but what's happening here is that you're in a better position than what you think you are. And so if you've had a tendency to be like, well, I have to just keep working and plugging away, and I have to, I have to build my wealth or make ends meet or whatever it is, just keep going and going and going. And you have this idea that maybe like so much money goes out, or that so much of your energy goes to work and there's nothing that can be done. It's almost like mouse on a wheel energy. I think what you haven't really stepped back, at least in the last 2 years, you haven't really examined fully is the kind of power position you actually are in or could be in if you utilize it. So take a look at that. Obviously, we're talking about your resources, your finances, your investments. And you may also be looking at someone in your life who seems down. They also seem somewhat avoidant. They seem to be walling you out. And you may feel like no matter how many times you reach out or you hope to get more from them, you never get more from them. It's almost like trying to get blood out of a rock. And the ladies are just like, enjoy your tea, okay? And be careful who you let at your table, okay? We are going to move on to another one. This is from Ayana or for Ayana. What do we have for Ayana? Ayana, when I go over here with you, I see you coming up to like a pool table. It's symbolic, could be literal, take it how it resonates, okay? But then take it both ways. But it's like symbolically you going up to a pool table and you got a good shot. I mean, you've got a really solid shot. If you can make this shot, although you have to kind of make it almost with your left hand and it's like you're right-handed, if you can manage this and you're going to have to hit the ball off of the side to pull it off, if you can manage this, you're going to be able to get the other balls in. It's going to go after that. It's going to be smooth sailing and easy, but you've got a heckler on the side. So if you have someone in your life, it feels like a toxic male who is, and this could be symbolic. This could be symbolic of just that sort of like male energy. It doesn't have to just be like one person in particular, but that sort of like toxic masculinity or that overbearing, you know, energy, like trying to psych you out or make you feel like you're weak, or like girls don't play pool, or well, I don't know what, you know, but there's this heckling. I do wonder at this point if it's you, you know, I wonder if you're him, if he represents the voices in your head, this toxic masculinity that maybe affected you your whole life from like the patriarchy and capitalism and the hatred toward women, you know, or it's like, what is this? It's like this thing you can make this shot. Okay. But if you keep allowing for other people or the voices in your head or circumstances to hold you back, you're going to probably get tripped up. And it's just, if it's even off a little bit, it's not going to make it into the hole, and then we don't have an opportunity to get these other balls in and win the game, you know. So essentially what you're doing here is being offered an opportunity, I want to say over the next ballpark 3 months, and this could come in directly in between the second and the third month. Maybe like you don't have to choose immediately, you don't have to make a move immediately at that time. So it's going to span right about there between the second and the third, but you will have to stay focused. You will have to turn off the noises in your head, and it'll lead to 3 other opportunities directly after it. Okay. That could set you up nicely for the rest of your life, at least very easily for the next 25 years. And I think that you do this in a lot of ways. I think you trip yourself up in a lot of ways. You know, you got the shot laid out perfectly. Everyone's pretty sure you're going to walk away confidently winning that game, and you botch it. You let yourself get tripped up. Being double-minded, being negative thinking, holding yourself back, procrastinating for too long and missing the window of opportunity. Okay. We're going to move on to Elvin. What do we have for Elvin? I see your feet moving forward. It almost feels like your feet have been tangled. Now, you may have felt like you had chains around your ankles for a while, which is going to be symbolic of limited mobility, your mobility being taken from you, not being able to move forward in your life. Not to say you didn't want to, or that you're confused about where you want to go, but actually being restricted. Okay. So it's almost like being imprisoned. And these chains were actually locked. It was not an illusion. So, you know, you were for a while. Now what we're entering into, and I want to say over the course of the next, I'm hearing 1, could it be a day? It could. I was going to say more like a week and a month. Now what we're moving into, let's say in the upcoming month, is it's sort of like the last part of the chain being unlocked or unhooked, or you being able to get out of it. And I think that what you're supposed to be doing from here is being really proactive in your words. I see you putting on red lipstick, and this is symbolic. Maybe you do wear red lipstick, take it both ways. But it is a power symbol. It's power in your speech. So what I see you doing is almost like sliding that last chain off. And right before even you did it, you put on your red lipstick. Now, this is going to mean that you get out through your words. You get out of this predicament through the words that you choose. Power in the verbal communication about how something is broken, how something is wrong, how something needs to be exposed, how there are patterns being proven. And if someone isn't listening to the patterns, you're proving it. I've got receipts. I've got receipts. Here, 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 here. That's a pattern. And you can also create a pattern of your own by saying it over and over. And it's an advertising tactic, right? You just repeat, 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 repeat. And then you're out. And then you're good. Okay, so a little bit of work for sure going on here, but you seem to have plenty of energy for it. You seem to know exactly what you're saying. Just don't back down. All right, we are going to move on to a Katie C. Katie C, what do I have for you? I have you speaking, teaching, communicating. Now, I'm not saying you're necessarily in the teaching field. I haven't even looked at that yet, but you may be feeling as though you are. And it's starting to take a bit of a toll in that you would like to be moved from the back of the room to the forefront more. I think you have other things to say to the world. I think there may be other interests that you have in regards to your career, what else you want to be doing with, your life, with your time, with your day-to-day lifestyle. And it's almost like where you've been and where you are, it's restrictive. It keeps you behind the scenes. It sort of keeps you down and kind of locked in, really, in a way that isn't very authentic to your nature. I think there was a period of time where you found yourself, moving in these directions in your life or getting involved in these relationships, these work opportunities, and you were like, yeah, that's what I invested in. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. And so I'm just going to keep kind of going forward with that. But eventually, you could be looking at things and saying, this isn't very fulfilling. I'm not really feeling, there's no fire in the belly. I'm not feeling very connected, to these situations. And this is something you're going to have to examine. What exactly do you want to be doing? How do you get from A to B? So you have a grandfather coming through here who says he may have left the house. He may have left, I don't know that he left you the house, but he may have left the house to the family. And there could have been a considerable amount of land on that property. And, he's talking about helping you when he comes in, watching over you, helping you get from A to B. It's like playing a game of chess right now. Now, whenever we're talking about playing a game of chess, this is going to require some significant strategy. And it's not just about, you being on the defense the whole time. This is also about wanting to get on the offense and, having an ultimate vision about where you want to be. But if you could get it down on paper, if you could start making some concrete plans, like I'm going to move in this direction, I'm going to apply for this thing, I'm going to make this change, I'm at least going to try, then we're talking. He says, then we're cooking with gas. Then the universe can step in and start creating some of this change. So if there's anything in your life that feels a little bit like, I can't even imagine getting to where I want to be, I don't even know how I'm going to get over there. It's not that difficult, but it is going to require an amount of effort out of you, strategy, and that's going to require that you are using things like your intuition, your psychic ability, your mediumship, because the universe is always going to tell you when to go, when not to go. There's a free class here on my YouTube called Divine Timing, When to Make a Move. Okay, you're going to want to check that out. Also, if someone's draining your energy by just like talking shit chronically, like they never stop talking trash, or they talk negatively, or they're always like, the sun could be shining and you're looking at the beautiful rainbow, and this person's like, yeah, well, there's always another storm coming, and before you can get the rainbow, I just see you cutting that off. Okay, it's sucking the life out of you. Let's move on to, or are we at time? We are at time. All right. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Love doing this show. And again, if you want to book a party, private reading with me or Psychic Fair, go to Ivy Rivera psychicmedium.com. I'll see you back here in 2 weeks for another show.